The unexpected encounter. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where countless stars twinkled like scattered diamonds, the space station Nebula 9 hung suspended in the inky void. A hub of interstellar commerce and cultural exchange, Nebula 9 was home to beings from 1,000 worlds, each with their own unique customs and appearance. Among this diverse tapestry of life, one figure stood out, not for her exotic features or strange customs, but for the companion that never left her side. Zara, a Florian from the lush world of Chloris, moved through the crowded corridors of Nebula 9 with a grace that belied her alien nature. Her skin shimmered with a faint green luminescence, and her hair, a tangle of delicate vines and vibrant flowers, swayed gently with each step. But it wasn't Zara's otherworldly beauty that caused heads to turn and conversations to falter. It was the creature that padded silently beside her. Nyx, as Zara had named her companion, resembled nothing so much as a panther carved from the night sky itself. Its fur was a deep, inky black that seemed to absorb light, while pinpricks of starlight glimmered across its sleek form. Nyx's eyes, a swirling galaxy of purples and blues, surveyed their surroundings with an intelligence that unnerved most who encountered it. Zara had found Nyx as a cub, alone and frightened on a desolate moon during one of her botanical expeditions. The creature, which she later learned was called a void stalker, had imprinted on her, forming a bond that transcended species. To Zara, Nyx was a loyal friend and protector. To everyone else on Nebula 9, the void stalker was a source of fear and mistrust. As Zara made her way to the hydroponics bay, where she worked as the station's lead botanist, she couldn't help but notice the wide berth other beings gave her and Nyx. Conversations died as they passed, only to resume in hushed whispers once they were safely out of earshot. Zara had grown accustomed to the isolation, but that didn't make the loneliness any easier to bear. The hydroponics bay was Zara's sanctuary, a place where she could lose herself in the familiar rhythms of nurturing and studying plant life from across the galaxy. As she entered the vast chamber, filled with rows upon rows of alien flora, she felt the tension leave her shoulders. Here, among the green-growing things, she was not an outsider. She was simply a caretaker, a guardian of life. Nyx settled into a corner, curling up amidst a cluster of bioluminescent ferns from Zara's homeworld. The void stalker's presence seemed to calm the plants, their soft glow pulsing in time with the creature's breathing. Zara smiled at the sight before turning her attention to a new specimen that had arrived on the last supply ship. As she carefully examined the delicate tendrils of the unknown plant, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Zara's head snapped up, her vine-like hair bristling with alarm. Nyx was instantly alert, rising to its feet with a low growl rumbling in its chest. "Attention all personnel," a voice crackled over the station's comm system. "Unknown vessel approaching. All non-essential staff report to designated safety zones. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Zara's heart raced as she quickly secured the specimens she had been working on. As the station's lead botanist, she was considered essential personnel and was required to remain at her post in case of emergencies. She moved to the hydroponics bay's main control panel, ready to initiate emergency protocols to protect the precious plant life under her care. Through the bay's large observation window, Zara caught sight of a sleek, unfamiliar ship approaching Nebula 9. Its design was unlike anything she had seen before, smooth lines and gleaming metal that seemed to blend seamlessly with the starry backdrop of space. As the unknown vessel drew closer, Zara could make out markings on its hull. Her eyes widened in recognition. "Humans," she breathed, a mixture of excitement and apprehension coloring her voice. Humans were a relatively new presence in the galactic community, having achieved faster-than-light travel only a few decades ago. Their rapid advancement and adaptability had quickly made them a subject of both fascination and concern among other species. Zara had never encountered a human in person, but she had studied their biology and culture with great interest. The station shuddered slightly as the human ship docked. Zara watched the proceedings with rapt attention, absently stroking Nyx's head as the Void Stalker pressed against her leg, sensing her mix of emotions. Minutes ticked by intense silence before the station-wide alert was finally lifted. "Attention all personnel," the same voice announced. "The situation has been resolved. The approaching vessel has been identified as the Earth Alliance ship Horizon. Please return to your regular duties and extend all courtesies to our human visitors." Zara let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. She was about to return to her work when the hydroponics bay door slid open, admitting a small group of beings she didn't recognize. At their head was a tall, broad-shouldered figure that could only be human. The human male's skin was a rich brown, his close-cropped hair a deeper shade of the same hue. His eyes, a striking amber color, scanned the hydroponics bay with obvious wonder before settling on Zara. For a moment, neither moved, each taking in the sight of a new species. It was Nyx who broke the spell, padding forward to investigate the newcomers. The humans' companions, a mix of various alien species Zara recognized as common crew on long-haul space flights, tensed visibly. But the human himself showed no fear. Instead, a smile spread across his face, revealing straight white teeth. "Well, hello there," he said, his voice a pleasant baritone. He crouched down, extending a hand towards Nyx. "Aren't you a magnificent creature?" Zara watched in astonishment as Nyx, usually wary of strangers, approached the human without hesitation. The Void Stalker sniffed the offered hand before pushing its head against it, clearly asking to be petted. The human obliged, running his fingers through Nyx's star-flecked fur with obvious delight. "I've never seen anything like you before," the human murmured, looking up at Zara. "I'm Captain Ethan Reed of the Earth Alliance ship Horizon, and you are." Zara blinked, momentarily at a loss for words. No one had ever reacted to Nyx with anything but fear or suspicion, let alone with such open admiration. I'm Zara," she finally managed. "Lead botanist of Nebula 9, and this is Nyx." Ethan stood, his hand still absently scratching behind Nyx's ears. "It's a pleasure to meet you both, Zara and Nyx. I hope you don't mind the intrusion. We were told this was where we might find the person in charge of the station's remarkable plant life." "Oh, yes, that would be me," Zara said, her professional demeanor reasserting itself. "Welcome to Nebula 9's hydroponics bay, Captain Reed. How may I assist you?" As Ethan explained their need for certain medicinal plants to replenish their ship's supplies, Zara found herself relaxing in the human's presence. There was something about his easy manner and genuine interest in her work that put her at ease. For the first time in longer than she could remember, Zara didn't feel like an outsider. As they walked among the rows of avian flora, discussing the various properties of different plants, Zara noticed something else. The other members of Ethan's crew, who had initially hung back, were now following along, their early attention replaced by curiosity. They asked questions, marveled at the strange and beautiful plant life, and even cautiously approached Nyx, who seemed to bask in the attention. It was as they were finishing up their tour that alarms once again blared through the station. This time, however, the message that followed was far more urgent. "Emergency alert. Hull breach detected in Section 7. All personnel evacuate immediately. Repeat, hull breach in Section 7. This is not a drill." Ethan's easygoing expression immediately sharpened into one of focused concern. "Section 7, that's near the docking base, isn't it?" Zara nodded, her own face pale with worry. "Yes, and it's also adjacent to the main life support systems." Without hesitation, Ethan turned to his crew. "Kelnar, Tipril, head back to the Horizon and prep for emergency assistance. The rest of you, help with the evacuation." As his crew rushed to follow his orders, Ethan turned back to Zara. "Is there a way to access Section 7 from here? We might be able to help." Zara hesitated only for a moment before nodding. "Yes, through the maintenance tunnels. But it's dangerous. The hull integrity in that entire section could be compromised." Ethan's amber eyes met hers, determination clear in their depths. Sometimes the most important things in life are dangerous. Will you show me the way? In that moment, as alarms blared and chaos erupted around them, Zara made a decision that would change the course of her life on Nebula 9. I'll do better than that, Captain Reed. I'll come with you. With Nyx at their heels, Zara and Ethan plunged into the depths of the space station, racing against time to prevent a disaster that threatened not just Nebula 9, but the delicate balance of interspecies relations in this corner of the galaxy. Little did they know that this crisis would be just the beginning of an adventure that would challenge their perceptions, test their courage, and perhaps even open their hearts to possibilities neither had dared to imagine. Bridging worlds. The maintenance tunnels of Nebula 9 were a labyrinth of narrow passages, dimly lit by emergency lighting that cast an eerie blue glow over everything. Zara led the way, her natural bioluminescence providing additional illumination. Captain Ethan Reed followed close behind, his breath coming in controlled, even measures despite their rapid pace. Nyx brought up the rear, the Void Stalker's eyes gleaming in the darkness. As they navigated the twisting corridors, Zara couldn't help but marvel at the strange turn of events that had brought her here. Just hours ago, she had been alone in her sanctuary of plants, isolated from the rest of the station's inhabitants. Now, she was racing to save those very same beings, alongside a human she had just met. How much further? Ethan asked, his voice tight with urgency. We're almost there, Zara replied, her vine-like hair writhing with tension. The access point to Section 7 should be just ahead. As they rounded a corner, a violent tremor shook the station. Zara stumbled, but before she could fall, a strong hand gripped her arm, steadying her. She looked up to find Ethan's amber eyes locked on hers, concern evident in their depths. Are you all right? He asked, his voice softer than she expected given the circumstances. Zara nodded, a strange warmth spreading through her at his touch. Yes, thank you. We need to hurry. They pressed on, finally reaching a sealed hatch marked with warning signs in multiple languages. Zara quickly input an override code, and the hatch slid open with a hiss of escaping air. Beyond lay chaos. Section 7 was in ruins. A massive breach in the outer hull had been sealed by emergency force fields, but the damage was extensive. Equipment lay scattered and sparking, and several crew members were trapped beneath fallen debris. The few emergency responders already on the scene were overwhelmed. Without hesitation, Ethan sprang into action. I'll help with the trapped crew. Can you get to the environmental controls and stabilize life support? Zara nodded, impressed by the human's quick thinking. I'm on it. Nyx, go with him. Help however you can. As Zara made her way to the life support control panel, she watched in amazement as Nyx effortlessly lifted heavy debris, allowing Ethan to pull injured crew members to safety. The Void Stalker, usually a source of fear, was now a beacon of hope. Zara focused on the task at hand, her fingers flying over the control panel as she rerouted power and balanced life support systems. It was delicate work, but her extensive knowledge of the station's systems allowed her to make progress quickly. Suddenly, a secondary explosion rocked the section. Zara was thrown back, her head striking a bulkhead. Through blurred vision, she saw a piece of the seething break free, plummeting towards an oblivious Ethan as he helped an injured crewman. Ethan, look out, Zara cried, her voice hoarse with fear. Time seemed to slow. Ethan looked up, his eyes widening as he saw the danger. But before he could move, a dark streak intercepted the falling debris. Nyx, using its powerful legs, had leaped into the air, taking the full brunt of the impact. The Void Stalker crashed to the ground, pinned beneath the heavy metal. Nyx, Zara screamed, scrambling to her feet and rushing to her companion's side. Ethan was already there, straining to lift the debris. Together, they managed to free the injured creature. Nyx whimpered softly, its starry coat dimmed with pain. Zara cradled the Void Stalker's head, tears streaming down her face. Hold on, Nyx. Please, hold on. Ethan placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. We need to get Nyx to medical. Can you finish stabilizing life support? Zara hesitated, torn between her duty and her love for her companion. Ethan seemed to sense her conflict. I'll take Nyx myself. I promise. I'll do everything I can. Looking into Ethan's eyes, Zara saw nothing but sincerity and determination. She nodded, gently transferring Nyx to Ethan's arms. Go. I'll finish here and meet you in medical. As Ethan carefully carried Nyx away, Zara turned back to the control panel, her resolve strengthened. She worked with renewed vigor, her hands steady despite the turmoil in her heart. Within minutes, she had stabilized the life support systems and initiated repair protocols. With the immediate crisis averted, Zara rushed to the medical bay. She burst through the doors, her eyes frantically searching for Nyx. She found Ethan standing outside a treatment room, his clothes stained with the Void Stalker's iridescent blood. How is Nyx? Zara asked, her voice trembling. Ethan's face was grim, but not without hope. The doctors are doing everything they can. Nyx saved my life back there. I've never seen anything like it. Zara slumped against the wall, the adrenaline of the past hour finally wearing off. To her surprise, Ethan slid down beside her, their shoulders touching. Nyx will pull through, he said softly. A being with that much courage doesn't give up easily. They sat in silence for a moment, the gravity of recent events settling over them. Finally, Ethan spoke again. I've never met anyone quite like you, Zara. The way you handled yourself back there, the bond you share with Nyx, it's remarkable. Zara turned to look at him, struck by the genuine admiration in his voice. I could say the same about you, Captain Reed. Most people run from Nyx in fear. You didn't hesitate to help, even in the face of danger. A small smile tugged at Ethan's lips. Please call me Ethan. And as for Nyx, well, I've always believed in looking beyond appearances. It's clear that Nyx is more than just a fearsome creature. The bond you share, it's beautiful. Zara felt a blush creep across her cheeks, her bioluminescence brightening slightly. Thank you, Ethan. It means a lot to hear you say that. Their moment was interrupted by the arrival of Station Commander Xaira, a tall, insectoid being with multifaceted eyes and iridescent exoskeleton. Botanist Zara, Captain Reed, I must commend you both on your actions today. You've saved many lives. Ethan rose to his feet, helping Zara up as well. Thank you, Commander. But the real hero is in there, he said, gesturing to the treatment room where Nyx lay. Commander Xaira's antennae twitched, a sign of surprise in her species. The Void Stalker. I see. Perhaps I have misjudged the creature. And you, Zara, your quick thinking in stabilizing our life support systems was crucial. Zara straightened, feeling a newfound confidence. Thank you, Commander. I'm glad I could help, and I hope that this incident might lead to a reevaluation of Nyx's presence on the station. Nyx is not a threat, but a valuable ally. The commander was silent for a moment, her compound eyes unreadable. Finally, she nodded. Your point is well taken, Botanist Zara. I will take it under advisement. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a station to put back in order. As Commander Xaira left, Ethan turned to Zara with a grin. Well done. I think you've made quite an impression. Before Zara could respond, a doctor emerged from the treatment room. Your companion is stable, he announced. The injuries were severe, but Void Stalkers are incredibly resilient. With rest and care, a full recovery is expected. Relief washed over Zara like a wave. She sagged against Ethan, who instinctively wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Can I see Nyx? She asked. The doctor nodded, briefly. The patient needs rest. As Zara entered the room, Ethan hanging back to give her privacy, she was struck by how small Nyx looked on the medical bed. The Void Stalker's eyes opened as she approached, a weak purr rumbling in its chest. Oh, Nyx, Zara whispered, gently stroking the creature's starry fur. Thank you. You were so brave. She stayed with Nyx until the Void Stalker drifted off to sleep, then rejoined Ethan in the hallway. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything." Ethan smiled, a warmth in his eyes that made Zara's heart skip a beat. "No thanks necessary. I'm just glad I was here to help. Listen, Zara, I know my ship is scheduled to leave soon, but I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner with me tonight. I'd love to learn more about your work and about you." Zara felt a flutter of excitement in her chest. "I'd like that very much, Ethan." As they walked together towards the station's residential area, Zara realized that something had fundamentally shifted. The isolation she'd have felt for so long was cracking, letting in a warmth of new connections and possibilities. But even as hope bloomed within her, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that their ordeal was far from over. The whole breach, while contained, had been no accident. Someone or something had targeted Nebula 9, and the question of why hung over the station like a looming shadow. As Ethan regaled her with stories of his adventures in space, Zara found herself torn between the joy of this new friendship and the nagging sense that greater challenges lay ahead. Little did she know that the events set in motion today would soon test not only her newfound relationship with Ethan, but the very fabric of interspecies cooperation that Nebula 9 represented. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the future of human-alien relations, with Zara, Ethan, and Nyx at its very heart, united front. The following days on Nebula 9 passed in a whirlwind of activity. As the station underwent repairs, Zara found herself at the center of a subtle but significant shift in the social dynamics aboard the space hub. The story of Nyx's heroic actions had spread quickly, transforming the once feared Void Stalker into something of a local celebrity. Crew members who had previously given Zara and her companion a wide berth now approached with cautious curiosity, some even daring to offer treats or gentle pats to the recovering Nyx. Amidst the changes, Zara's friendship with Ethan blossomed. The human captain had extended his ship's stay, citing the need to assist with repairs and to conduct diplomatic relations. Their nightly dinners had become a highlight of Zara's day, filled with laughter, shared stories, and a deepening connection that both excited and terrified her. It was during one such dinner, as they sat in a quiet corner of the station's arboretum, that Ethan's expression turned serious. "Zara," he began, his amber eyes holding a mix of concern and determination, "I need to tell you something. The whole breach, it wasn't an accident." Zara's bioluminescence flickered with surprise. "What do you mean?" Ethan leaned in, lowering his voice. "My crew and I have been investigating. The damage patterns, the targeting of critical systems, it all points to a deliberate attack. Someone wanted to cripple Nebula 9. A chill ran down Zara's spine. "But who, and why?" "We're not sure yet," Ethan replied, running a hand through his short hair. "But we have reason to believe it might be connected to a group called the Purists. They're an extremist faction that opposes interspecies cooperation. They see places like Nebula 9 as a threat to what they call genetic purity." Zara's mind raced. "We need to tell Commander Asira." Ethan nodded. "I agree, but we need to be careful. If the Purists have infiltrated the station, we don't know who we can trust." As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Commander Asira's voice crackled over the comm system, tension evident even through the static. "Attention all personnel. We have detected multiple unauthorized access attempts to our main computer core. Security teams to your stations. This is not a drill." Zara and Ethan exchanged a look of grim understanding. "It's happening," Ethan said, rising to his feet. "We need to move." They raced through the corridors, Zara leading the way to the computer core. As they rounded a corner, they nearly collided with Nyx, who had somehow sensed the danger and left the medical bay to find them. "Nyx," Zara exclaimed, relief flooding through her. "Are you sure you're up for this?" The Void Stalker's star-flecked eyes gleamed with determination, a low growl rumbling in its chest. Ethan grinned. "I'd say that's a yes. Let's go." The trio arrived at the computer core to find chaos. Security personnel were engaged in a firefight with a group of masked intruders. Energy bolts crisscrossed the air, leaving scorch marks on the walls. Ethan immediately took charge, coordinating with the security teams to flank the attackers. Zara, drawing on her intimate knowledge of the station's systems, worked to lock down critical data and reroute power to the defensive systems. As the battle raged, Zara caught sight of a figure slipping away from the main group, heading towards a secondary access panel. Without hesitation, she gave chase, Nyx close on her heels. The figure, tall and lithe, with 4 arms and scaled skin, turned at their approach, raising a weapon. But before they could fire, Nyx leaped, knocking the attacker off balance. Zara seized the opportunity, using a technique Ethan had taught her to disarm and subdue the intruder. As Zara secured the attacker, she heard Ethan's voice over her comm. "Zara, we've contained the main group, but their leader is heading for the life support controls. If they shut it down, I'm on it," Zara replied, already running. She knew a shortcut through the maintenance tunnels that would get her there first. Emerging from the tunnels, Zara found herself face to face with the purist leader, a human woman with cold, grey eyes and a face twisted with hatred. "Stand aside, plant lover," the woman spat. "We're going to cleanse this abominationless station." Zara stood her ground, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "This station isn't an abomination. It's a symbol of hope, of what we can achieve when we work together." The woman laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Nay, fool. Your precious cooperation is diluting the purity of our species. We'll never achieve our true potential if we keep mixing with alien filth." "You're wrong," Zara said, her bioluminescence brightening with conviction. "Our differences make us stronger. They push us to grow, to learn, to become more than we were." As she spoke, Zara became aware of movement behind the purist leader. Ethan had arrived, silently positioning himself for a surprise attack. Nyx, too, had circled around, its starry form almost invisible in the shadows. Zara met Ethan's eyes for a brief moment, an unspoken plan forming between them. She took a step forward, drawing the purist's attention. "I'll show you the true potential of cooperation." In that instant, Ethan struck. The purist leader, caught off guard, spun to face this new threat. But as she turned, Nyx pounced from the other side, knocking her off balance. Zara seized the moment, tackling the woman and pinning her arms. As security forces flooded in to take the purist leader into custody, Zara found herself engulfed in a fierce hug from Ethan. "That was incredible," he murmured against her hair. "You were incredible." Zara melted into the embrace, the adrenaline of the fight giving way to a warm glow of triumph and connection. Nyx pressed against their legs, purring contentedly. In the days that followed, as the full extent of the purist plot was uncovered and security measures were tightened, Zara found herself at the center of a new initiative on Nebula 9. Commander Axira, impressed by the effectiveness of their diverse team, appointed Zara to lead a new interspecies cooperation task force. "Your unique perspective and the trust you've built with various species make you the ideal candidate," Zahara explained, her antennae twitching with what Zara now recognized as approval. As Zara stood on the observation deck, watching the stars wheel slowly past, she felt a presence beside her. Ethan took her hand, intertwining his fingers with hers. "So," he said, a smile in his voice, "I hear you're going to be pretty busy around here." Zara turned to him, her heart full. "What about you? Won't the Earth Alliance be calling you back soon?" Ethan's smile widened. "Actually, I've put in for an extended assignment here on Nebula 9. It seems they need an Earth liaison for this new interspecies cooperation task force." Joy bubbled up inside Zara, her bioluminescence glowing brightly. "Really, you're staying?" "Wild space horses couldn't drag me away," Ethan replied, pulling her close. "Besides, someone needs to keep you and Nyx out of trouble." As they stood there, looking out at the vast expanse of space, Nyx curled contentedly at their feet, Zara felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. The path ahead would not be easy. There were still those who feared difference, who clung to old prejudices. But here, on this station hanging in the stars, they were forging a new way forward. Nebula 9 had started as a simple trading post, a neutral ground for different species to conduct business. Now it was becoming something more, a beacon of hope, a living example of the power of diversity and cooperation. And at its heart stood an unlikely trio: a Florian botanist with flowers for hair, a human captain with a heart as vast as the cosmos, and a void stalker whose starry coat reflected the very essence of the universe they explored. As Ethan leaned down to kiss her, Zara knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. For in this moment, in this place balanced between worlds, they had found something precious: a love that transcended species, a friendship that defied expectations, and a shared purpose that would light their way through the darkness of space. The story of Nebula 9 was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning, and Zara couldn't wait to see where this new chapter would lead.